Freakonomics.
So it turns out that people who win political campaigns usually outspend their opponents by a lot. And this is so obvious as a truism that everybody believes it and everybody acts on it, to the point where everybody says, well, politics is broken because there's too much spending, and because there's too much spending, then the wrong people are often in a position to win, and money has way too much influence. But as it turns out, it's not that money wins the elections, it's that the candidate who is much more attractive from the outset raises more money because they're more attractive from the outset. So it's this sort of catch-22 where people totally believe the causal impact, but Levitt did this great paper a long time ago to actually look at the comparisons of when two candidates ran against each other multiple times with different sums of money involved. And it turns out that the influence of money itself is just not very large, but our perception of it is huge, because we know that people who end up winning have all this money left over, and the people that end up losing spend all their money, but the money doesn't really help that much. It's just that the attractive people attract more money.
Yeah, I mean, there have been 6 or 7 studies since I first kind of claimed that the campaign spending didn't matter, all of which continue to support the idea that campaign spending doesn't matter. But politicians continue to spend money. Why is that? Well, it's one of these cases where you can't learn if you don't experiment. And what politician wants to risk their political life? Oh, this guy Levitt, he thinks he's so smart. He says you don't need any campaign spending. Just go ahead, take the risk. Don't don't raise any money. Of course, if I'm wrong, their political career is over. So you basically can't find a candidate who's willing to go out and not raise immense amounts of money to try and win. So we never figure out whether I'm right or not.
What you really want is you really want somebody who's running, who's raising a lot of dough, who's read the book, to raise all the money and then just say, I'm just going to spend like 25% of it. I'm going to take the rest and put it in escrow, or give it to you to gamble at the racetrack and see, or start a hedge fund. And and if that worked just like once, can you imagine how great that would be? So,
yeah, William Proxmire from Wisconsin used to have a rule, which he just said, I'm not going to do any campaign spending. Okay, and he'd win year after year after year. And partly it was just part of his shtick, that he was, about politics being broken. But it worked out great for him. I mean, politicians hate raising money. If they could just figure out all get to this equilibrium where they realized it didn't matter, they'd just be so much better.
The other part of it is the big complaints about campaign spending come from all different quarters, and it's aired about in the media, obviously, but the dirty little secret is that campaign spending is what drives like radio and television advertising hugely during those election cycles. So as much as you might like to say that, we have this message that says campaign spending doesn't really matter, good luck anybody on TV or radio ever saying that, because that's where all their advertising comes from, once a year, then every 2 years, then every 4 years. Right. It's this unbelievable bonanza. So it's just this money that gets wasted. I mean, that's actually something we haven't talked about, which is what economics is. It's a look at efficiency and inefficiency, and a lot of the behavior that most people would call wrong or bad is really just inefficient. So it's not for us to say that people shouldn't raise money from lobbyists to get elected and so on. It's just that it's inefficient. It doesn't accomplish what people think it's going to accomplish, and it could be used for other things. So since we're here to say that campaign spending is not that important, and if you wanted to take all the money that's raised in every political campaign every year, every 2 and every 4 years, and actually just put even a quarter of it back toward solving some problems, or just leave it in people's pockets, the world would probably be much better off. But even if that's true, and even if it makes sense, it'll probably never happen because there's too many people who profit from that. So,
but don't forget, one of the things we say in the book is that the total amount of money spent in this country on political campaigns is about the same amount we spend on chewing gum. Okay, and so if you really thought that campaign spending worked so great, you'd expect corporations and individuals to give enormous amounts of money to try and influence the process. But the fact that nobody really gives very much, very small, small potatoes in the broad scheme of things relative to the size of the government budget, suggests that it really probably is true that campaign spending doesn't matter that much.